All right, welcome to the masterclass today. I appreciate everybody hopping on. We will sit tight for a minute or so and let everybody get logged on and then get started shortly. Um, so sit tight and we'll get going. As we wait, any first timers today? Um, Best way to communicate is in the chat or raise your hand. Got it. So looks like we got a handful of first timers on our masterclass. That's awesome. Great. All right. As we're waiting, what I'll start with actually is a poll that we have. And so I can kind of see the audience that we have today. And this is going to be based off of your experience. And so this will pop up. Um, If you take a second to fill this out, let's get your annuity sales experience. So we have kind of beginner, 1 to 5 year, 5 to 10, and 10 plus. And so if everyone takes a second to fill that out, that would be great. I like to kind of see the audience that we have on. So I'm kind of covering all my bases. It looks like we have a decent mix. It looks like it's a little bit leaning towards the kind of newer side of things, which is great. Awesome. All right. I appreciate everybody taking a moment to fill that out. Perfect. All right. So let's get started. My name's Danny Copinga. I do a lot of our master classes over here at Annuities Genius. And the kind of format that I like these to go is I'd like this to be interactive and ask questions along the way. And so there's the chat section. There's also the Q&A tab at the bottom that you'll be able to see as well. And so if there's a question that you have, please feel free to ask along the way. I may not get to it immediately, but I'll try to pause throughout our class and go through these and answer questions as they pop up. Um, as we jump into it, also kind of about the flow of things, I should say, is typically what I'll do is I'll spend the first half of our class going through a specific feature within our tool, and then the second half will actually solve a case together. So ideally, if somebody has like a annuities opportunity or a case that they're working on, we'll pop it open into our AI tool and we'll solve the case kind of like we'd be doing if I was, an agent with a lead or a case that popped in and see what we can get as far as building that out. And so let's jump into things. I'm going to share my screen and I'll share this. Hopefully y'all can see my screen now. And let's go through this. And so um, with our audience being kind of more on the beginner side, I want to go through a couple things that I think will kind of really hit home with those that are getting started in the annuity space, um, and obviously familiarizing themselves with our tool. Now, for those of you that are new to annuities just in general, basically there's a lot that we can do, but how I typically narrow it down is we ultimately do two things is we do product recommendation and quotes, annuity quotes. Pretty straightforward, nothing too crazy about that. There's a lot of tools that do that. It's kind of a commoditized space. And then the second thing that we do and that we really excel at is we do sales enablement tools. Now, what does that mean? Basically tools that help you sell more efficiently. And so that could be things like better building out cases, prepping for your pitch, overcoming objection training, presentations, kind of all of that. So a lot of pre-sales, a lot of post-sales, basically just getting better at selling annuities in general, um, on the beginner side. And then for those kind of seasoned annuity sales individuals, we have a lot of tools when it comes to like one of our more popular tools now is the replacement analyzer. So basically being able to um, upload an existing annuity statement and doing a quick analysis to see how competitive it is compared with new products and things like that. Um, and so today, what I want to go through is kind of one of our core tools that we've had for a couple of years now that a lot of agents use, especially a lot of agents that are getting into annuity sales or are kind of more on the beginner side. Although I see a lot of agents that are kind of just fine-tuning their process use this as well. And it's our Navigator tool. So basically, logging in, kind of, what's the lay of the land? I have my dashboard. This is my home page where it's going to have all my current cases that I'm working on. And then I have all the different features up top. And so for our Navigator tool, I'm going to click on Qualify. I'm going to click on Navigator. Basically, what this is call it like a discovery call or a annuity kind of initial sales call in a box. Um, it's very easy. You don't have to have really any annuity background to be able to utilize it. A lot of it's just kind of plug and play. So it's clicking through and kind of going through the activity with the client. This is something that you can do, over the phone. You can do it over Zoom. You can do it in person, and you can actually share your screen and kind of have it as a mutual activity that you're going through with um, the uh, with the client. And so when I click on Annuity Navigator, I already have a client in here, but we'll kind of get to that in a minute. But basically, what it is it's kind of just pointing and clicking and working through this with the client. So if I click on this little video, it has a video that kind of just talks about the power of annuities and kind of the value behind it, especially around income protection and risk protection when it comes to retirement income. So you can show that if you want. And then basically it's just a matter of clicking through and talking with your customer. So, hey, all right, customer, we're looking for lifetime income options, accumulation, both. Okay, we're looking for lifetime income. Awesome. I'll click on that. And then ultimately what it is, it's a series of 6 questions that you'll go through. And so the reason that we have a lot of people use this, especially when they're getting into annuities, or annuities may not be their number one product line. They're coming from Medicare, they're coming from life insurance, but they have an annuity opportunity to pop up is it basically gives you a sales process that you can easily plug into, and you don't have to kind of reinvent the wheel when it comes to selling an annuity. And so with this, it's basically okay, based off of our conversation, we have $150,000 we're looking at utilizing. Next step, is this a one-time money movement? Is it adding future contributions? Okay, one time, great. Coverage wise, is it covering income for just yourself, Mr. Customer, or for you and your wife? Okay, for you and your wife both. Great. How old is she? She is 59. Perfect. How soon are you looking at utilizing this income? Kind of what's the deferral time? 5 years. All right, so when you're 68, perfect. And then strategy wise, are we looking at level income? Increasing income. If you're not quite sure, it kind of gives an explanation down here, but there's also a star that we add to kind of give you a little hint. It looks like most people typically go with level income. Okay. Next step, rating wise, what's the lowest rating company you would accept? Again, there's a little star, so A minus and above, perfect. And then next step. So basically what it's doing is it's taking the opportunity and it's filtering it down. And then it's going to make 3 product recommendations based off of how those questions were answered. Now, with this, is it's going to show, kind of giving a little ahead of myself, is when basically get into an Annuities Genius, you'll create your own deck, which is basically the product shelf is another word a term that people commonly use. Basically, just the carriers that you're contracted with, so that you're only seeing options that you can sell. So going back to our scenario, we're like, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Client, looks like based off of what we got, you have a gold, silver, and bronze option. And based off of this is going to be, what the ratings, so to speak, are going to be, how you answer those questions, also what's going to get you the most guaranteed income in this scenario. And so then I can, talk about these. If I need more detail, especially if I'm new, I'm gonna want to know a little bit more about this. So I'll run the AI analysis, and then ultimately what this will do is this will give me a kind of a key points on each tool with the key features, and then how it stands out with each of those. So typically things that you have to go to like the um, annuity brochure or the carrier page. It just condenses it down all into one spot. And then if they're like, yeah, the gold option looks great. I want to maximize my income. I can click on illustrate and that'll actually pull up like the illustration that we have for that product itself. And so you can then dive into more detail. And so ultimately what this is doing is just kind of giving you a plug and play process that you can easily utilize. So if you identify what you think could potentially be an annuity opportunity, you can just pop open the Navigator tool, kind of go through that activity with the client on asking those questions, and then see what it pops out, and then kind of have an easy process to start going through with your client. It gives you kind of decision guidance, addressing your likely questions, which is great. I think a lot of people, especially when they're getting annuities, they may be a little apprehensive, especially if they're coming from like, I only sell Medicare, I only sell life insurance. You may feel a little apprehensive about kind of going all in or kind of following through on what you think would be annuity opportunities, just because you want to still kind of hold that position as the expert and not necessarily feel like you don't know what you're talking about. And so we try to fill that knowledge gap with the technology on being able to have tools to, confidently ask questions along the way as they pop up. Um, I'm just going through the Q&A, how to activate the doubler to solve the both income, provided the client two ADLs. Um, so yeah, basically with that, you would just go through the filter and you could filter through some more of those options to get a more specific product recommendation. Um, and then for the training, we do record these and we typically will post them on our YouTube channel. So if you wanted to watch it or again or get cut off or have someone call in the middle of the meeting, you can go to our YouTube channel, search Annuities Genius and see these webinars. So pretty straightforward. I mean, that took us, I don't know, 5 minutes or so to go through this and basically easily have a tool that you can utilize. If I go to review quotes, this basically just pulls up like the income calculator that you can then dive into more detail as well. And so what's great about this is it gives you a baseline. I mean, this may give you a place to start, and then you can start to jump in and make tweaks and adjustments along the way as needed. But it's nice because it's super easy to use. And by including the client in the process, they feel like, oh yeah, I'm answering questions, specifically around my scenario, so that when I get a recommendation, it feels more tailored around what they're trying to achieve. And so that transition to kind of, close usually is a lot more smoother because they can kind of see how you got there. Um, and uh, and um, and so it makes it a lot easier. All right, so let's jump over to solve a case because I feel like this is the fun part of the master class because we can actually like put the tool to use, like you would use it as a rep kind of out in the field. Um, and I'm not just, taking something that I've prepared beforehand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to our dashboard and we're going to use our AI to create a case. And so ideally, does anyone have, and you can post this in the chat, a case that they're working on or just want to throw out there and we can basically build out a proposal and solve that. If you do toss it in chat, more details, the better. I mean, at a minimum, I just need a name. Doesn't have to be the actual client name, the state, and then what we're trying to achieve. If it's like accumulation, if it's income, if it's how soon we need the income, if they're looking at comparing it against another product, that type of thing. That would be helpful. All right, I'll wait for a second and I'll pop open the chat to see what we have. All right, looks like there's a couple of them. All right, Sherman, it looks like since you're the first one, I'll just pop this one in. So it looks like Achieve income along with fees. All right, so we got a 58-year-old woman, 300K in Georgia, looking for income along with fees. All right, so that's pretty straightforward. So I'm going to use the AI chat for this. So the AI functionality is very similar to other consumer-facing um, AI tools that you've used. So if you've used like ChatGPT, it's the same thing. So I'm gonna say I'll just make up this name and say that we have um, Janice in Georgia has 300K. We'll say in a IRA just for fun. Let's see, how old is 58, Janice? 58 has certain kind of looking for income options, and I'm just gonna make up a deferral time. I'm gonna say looking for income options at 65. Also, um, give me options with a LTD rider. All right, so I'm going to click on that. So pretty straightforward. I'll click on that. And then what it's going to do is it's going to add our client Janice in this case into the CRM. So I have Janice, Georgia, female, 58, funding source qualified. We put IRA, 300,000. Goals, in this case, it's generate income. Now, when I'm entering in a client, I don't necessarily have to know all this beforehand. I can kind of start from scratch, but since we have this is great. Um, and then it has client is requesting options that include long-term disability LTC rider. All right, perfect. So what I'll do is I'm going to check on that as well. I'll go to create client. And then basically that takes us to our prompt box. Now, with AI, if you've used it before, there's a lot that you can do. And a lot of the limitations are just going to be on kind of, what you do or don't ask it to do. And so we've created a lot of pre-built prompts just to kind of give you an idea or how you can use it. So here's all pre-built prompts I can hover over. And if I go to more, here's a bunch more as well. So if I'm like a new rep, for example, and I needed to create a questionnaire to send out to the customer to basically gather more details and do more fact finding, I could do that. I could create a full first call script. So it doesn't necessarily just do like getting me an annuity quote. It does a lot of the pre-sale stuff that helps you kind of be able to get to the point where you can not just find a quote, but better qualify it and have good questions to ask along the way as well. And so I'm just going to click on find best fit annuity since we already have this, since we already have kind of the information or breakdown. And then I'm going to let the AI start doing its thing. Generally, this takes about 60 seconds or so to start building out the case and the proposal. And then initially, what it typically does is before it actually builds it out, is it usually gives me 3 to 5 different products that I can kind of select from to narrow it down. And then it will start to build out the actual proposal. And so you can kind of see what it's doing. It's just basically going to the database. If I click on view source, that actually opens up our marketplace page and takes me to kind of the income products that it's searching from. Again, it may be showing options that you may not be contracted with right now. That's just because I'm pulling a bunch of different carriers. When you actually set up your account, you'll narrow down your deck so you're only seeing carriers that you're contracted with so that you're providing options that you can sell right there and don't have to, hurry and get appointed with or have to go back and change things. And so yeah, we're basically getting it it's starting to build everything out. It's going to present 3 annuities, um, it looks like, and it will give me kind of a side-by-side comparison. And then what's cool about this is it'll put it all into, so here's the proposed annuities initially. Let's just say, all right, so this one I have F&G, North American, and North American, additional North American. And let's say that I'm not familiar with all these. I can click on details and it pulls up like the details of the product. And then why this product as well is it kind of explains why it made this recommendation. So let's just say that I want to go with I'll eliminate this just for demo's sake. I'm gonna eliminate this second one. Let's see why this product, kind of only product in the database with a true LTC rider, which China says agent state, best LTC perfection protection. So yeah, let's look at that one. So I'm gonna remove this one and we'll go with these two. So now I'm gonna create proposal. Now, again, if you're not sure, you can just use all three of them and then have the full breakdown. Or if you just wanted to, select one so you're not having to have the customer have to choose or anything like that, you can do that as well. The great thing about is this is a draft and you can make changes along the way and it's basically kind of working with you. So, um, what's cool about this again is imagine like, traditionally a lot of times when it comes to annuities, the kind of your IMO, your agency is set up to where you may have like a marketing team that helps you, or like an annuity expert in your office. This is like having an annuity marketer or expert kind of in your pocket, and you don't have to worry about going back and forth with somebody or emailing or calling and that process being dragged out. Now, you can still utilize those people in your office. Maybe it's if it's super complicated. For a lot of, but for the majority of the more straightforward cases, you can just basically plug this in and do it all yourself now and not necessarily have to drag out the process or anything like that. So it looks like it's building out the report still generating, but you can kind of see it gives you a synopsis of the deal. The bottom line, what we're looking at, it gives me a side-by-side comparison between the two products so I can kind of, understand myself as well as understand with the customer as well. So I have option one, a true income product, and then we have the second one, which is a accumulation with just more of an LTC product, just because they wanted an LTC option on this one. I was curious because I usually don't look at these type of products, so I wanted to see what it generates as well. Here's how they explains basically what it's looking at, so you can see um, how the income base grows. If you need long-term care, you have this with the doubler hypothetical growth over time. You can see. And then option two, this is kind of explaining more so. So this product is not designed to pay income directly. Instead, it grows your 300K aggressively and makes full account value accessible if you ever need long-term care. So a little bit different. This is more in a long-term care play, not an income play. And so I just, again, for demo's sake, wanted to see what this looks like in comparison. Here's kind of the key trade-offs that you can see. And then what if scenario side by side. So what if you need care? What does that look like, or how does that look like? And then the kind of breakdown at the bottom. So this is great because it gives you kind of an overall view. But like, let's say that there's something that like I was like, you know what, I don't want to show this to the customer. I don't want to kind of confuse them with the LTC and how that works. So let's make an adjustment and I'm gonna say only show option one. I'm gonna say redo proposal and only show, whoops, can't type, and only show option one. Is that how it labeled it? Yep. I'll send that in and then I'll just wait for it to update. And then we'll have the full breakdown that we can review. So it has the F&G product. Um, Again, it's going to show how it grows over time. It's going to show the LTC protection in this case built in. And then, what happens to account value, kind of what we showed a graph before. And then it will have more details at the bottom. So it gives you kind of an overall, kind of breakdown of everything. That's pretty clear. It's nice because it kind of, again, shows you the basic data points with everything. Um, and then so I can kind of see what that looks like. So in this case, it's showing me kind of what it looks like in compared with like an IRA with an index S&P index fund, which is great because they're gonna have to do something with that money. and it shows kind of pros and cons, what you're getting with income protection, principal protection, all that. Should That's the next step, which is good. Now, let's say that like the customer was like, "Ah, I heard annuities are just really expensive, and I'm worried about the fees." And so what I can do is I can type in like, explain more about the fees, or I can come over to our already pre-built prompts and I can go overcoming objections. And let's say fees are too high. So I'll put that in and send. And then let's see what it says about the fees and what the tool can help us do in that scenario. And then what this will do is this will actually kind of give you good data points on um, on apples to apples comparison on what the actual fees look like dollar wise, but then how it compares with other potential products as well. So it's not just like a one-liner um, kind of generic objection overcoming argument. You're giving a more of like a comprehensive breakdown on this, on any objection, I should say, just because um, that's a big part of you obviously closing the job. And one, making sure that the customer understands. And so it kind of gives me everything right here. So here's the actual fees breakdown of what it gives me. Here's the fees over time. In this case, it's a 7-year product. Now, what I like about this, especially when comes to fees, is it's going to give me like other typical investment vehicles that they could potentially be looking at to compare. So like when I'm comparing like an actual mutual fund or index fund to an annuity or whatever else, they can see that and they can see it very clearly. Oh, it looks like I just dropped it off. And so yeah, so basically I have it right here. So I have the fee breakdown, what the actual fee buys. So now you're not just talking about fees for fees, you're talking about the value behind it and what you're getting on what that looks like with guaranteed income, with the LTC piece as well in that scenario, and what you're getting back in that with that. And again, compared to other things. So what does it look like? Again, what do you gain? What's the value out of it? Comparison. And then it has kind of everything again that we went through right here. So this is great again, because basically if I'm, coming in with limited annuity knowledge or I've sold annuities for a long time and I just want to, polish up my process. This is great because it gives you kind of all good information, good data. Again, not just like talking points or, one-liners that you may read from like a sales um, manual or just kind of a bullet point. You can actually have more detailed conversations or feel comfortable that if that did pop up, you have good detailed data that you can present in that type of scenario. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to sales and anything, it's just the sales process you want to have down, and then you want to feel confident in that process and confident in what you're doing. And so we're trying to augment that as much as possible so that when you present this, you feel good about the product, that you're kind of checking all the boxes for the customer, that you're basically providing a good solution for them, but then feel confident in yourself that you present it, that you know what you're talking about, you have good data, good details, and it's a true kind of, synergy between the customer and doing the right thing for them. And then obviously as the agent or advisor, being able to come across as professionally as possible. So now I have this with this proposal, I can download this as a PDF easily. If I wanted to send this over to them, I could say uh, email this to the client, create a email and create an email to send to client, and then it will basically put this in a emailable form, and I can actually email it from Annuities Genius. But I want to respect everybody's time. We're kind of coming up kind of on the conclusion of our class today. And so any questions or anything like that anybody has um, with anything that we've done or anything that we presented? Um, All right. So I will say now, as far as our tool goes, if you haven't signed up for Annuity Genius, you can do it from our website. We do have a 14-day trial, so you can test it out. From a training standpoint, we have a ton of resources with online training videos that you can have access to. This is a master class that we do every Wednesday at the same time. So you can come to it, as many times as you want. And then we also have our service team here in our office. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to them as well. Um, Ultimately, our job is to support you as much as possible so that you're selling more annuities, and hopefully our product helps you do that. And so, um, uh, that's all we have for today. And so again, I appreciate everybody hopping on. Come back next week and feel free to reach out to myself or our office if you want to get signed up or have additional questions. Have a great afternoon.